I would like to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Are there any speakers related to closed session topics? There are no speakers. Thank you. The board will now convene to closed session. Live streaming on YouTube will begin now for the open session of the Board of Education meeting. The URL for the YouTube live streaming may be found on the NHUSD Board of Education webpage. If you are joining us via the Zoom webinar and you would like to provide public comment for this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise your hand option in Zoom. Or if you are calling in by phone, please press *9 and wait to be called on. Community members may still provide public comments to the board prior to each meeting via email at publiccomment@nhusd.k12.ca.us. There were no comments provided to the board for tonight's meeting via the public comment email address. I would like to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed by those making public comments. There was no action taken by the board in closed session. At this time, I would like to turn over to Vice President Gonzalez to lead the next few sections of our meeting.
All right, at this time, can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Put your right hand over your heart. We're ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next section is roll call. May I have a motion and a second? Or just-
No need.
Roll seconds.
Roll call.
Sorry.
Here.
Ishida,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Swinburne.
Here.
All right, so this is approval of the agenda. This does require a motion and a second.
Yes, I move.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Aye.
Ishida,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Swinburne.
Aye.
And acknowledgement, is there anybody who would like to? Okay. Sure.
We want to open this meeting by acknowledging with respect and love that the land we are on today is traditional ancestral homeland of the Ohlone Chochenyo First People. We recognize and thank the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land. Indigenous people must not be spoken about in past contexts as if they left on their own accord, when the real causes were white supremacy, manifest destiny, and U.S. colonization. By recognizing we stand on occupied indigenous territory of the Ohlone people, we recommit ourselves to listen to Native leadership and stand in solidarity with people struggling against systems of oppression throughout the world, past and present.
All right. Thank you very much, Vice President Gonzalez. Now we will have section 6, which is public comment, hearing of visitors on topics which are not on the agenda. Again, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand. If you're calling on phone, you can press *6, and each person will have 2 minutes. Anyone who goes over 2 minutes will be muted. Topics not on the agenda? Are there? Are there any speakers via Zoom that wish to address the board on topics that are not on the agenda?
There are no speakers via Zoom.
Okay, having no speakers via Zoom, we will go on to section 7.1. This is public comment for topics which are on the agenda. Are there any blue card topics on the agenda?
No blue cards.
If there are any speakers via Zoom that wish to address the board, please raise your hand. Are there any speakers on Zoom?
There are no speakers on Zoom.
All right. Moving on to section 8. We have 8.1 recognition, which is our annual update on district projects. Ms. Heldman.
Everyone, is it on?
There you go. Good evening, Superintendent Thompson and members of the board. We are excited to share with you this evening updates on various projects The last time we stood before you and presented updates was in November of last year. So anything that you would see today would be any movements and changes since that time. With me, co-presenting this is our Director of Facilities, Mr. Narayan Naidu. And we also have our MOT Director, Mr. Jason, backup support, just in case we need it. So I will frame it, I will tee it up, and while we are waiting for that presentation. So while we're doing that, just a reminder that our facilities department is staffed by a full-time director, who's Mr. Naidu, and a half-time clerical support. So we're doing really good. We work with different architects and contractors, and these are the results of that work. Okay, I guess. Will I be able to use this, Mr. Thomas? Okay. All right, so I'm going to take over the first few slides. When we are dealing with projects, or what prompts us to develop a project, or what makes it into a project, is there are really just these categories that you see on the board. Most of them are actually a result of the board approved projects based on our active Measure M bond program. We're lucky that part of the authorization that we got for Measure M is actually addressing our deferred maintenance. And of course, there are unforeseen emergencies. Four-letter word, when we deal with that, a gas leak, water leak, that's what we have to deal with. We can't wait. And then there are sometimes, given that, and Mr. Naidu would address more of this, given that we are dealing with, I think the youngest would be a 40-year-old building, maybe that's the youngest. You knock out a wall, you don't know what's lurking behind the wall, and those are what we call warranted conditions. And then there are times when economies of scale would kick in. If we're trenching this area and we know that there's a need in that area, we would kind of tag along in that project so that we can save future maintenance and cost as well. So those really, sometimes it's a combination of more than one of these, but those are what drives the project list that we deal with. So before I turn it over to Mr. Naidu, how we're going to go over tonight's presentation would be just as shown on the board. We grouped them based on what we recently completed since the last update. And there are several phases in a project, and we will show them grouped the way, what's in the different phases. And then we added a category of on hold, and you will see why. The inflation is driving a lot of things right now, and we're seeing numbers that we've never seen before. Things that would need further evaluation, but we also want to present them to you because we did go through most of the process in terms of those projects as well. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to call on Mr. Naidu to walk us through the projects, and we prepared some visuals for you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The first project that has been completed is the exterior painting of Hpvc crest. This upgrade, and to date, the staff, the students, everyone seem to be very happy about it. They like the way it looks now. Apart from painting, it was not just painting or more of a face. And then there were a lot of sidings which were rotten. There was a lot of dry rot. A lot of gutters were all now depleted. So we had to upgrade together with the exterior painting project. The next one, again at Hpvc Crest, is a sped restroom. Before the construction of this, they did not have any sped restroom, and they were sharing the common restrooms used by regular students. But there was a bit of a constraint because they were taking these sped students outside to the restroom, so they didn't like that. It was suggested by the staff and the principal of the school. And then what we did is that we found out that we could save cost by putting up a restroom in between two classrooms, so that both sped classrooms can use the restroom. So we saved a lot of cost on that. Just as while we are on Hillview Crest. We also addressed the fleas issue, which was pretty hot last year, beginning of last year. We did a thorough analysis of what was happening. We had the experts to look into it. That are induced by cats in the neighborhood, and also the way people let the dog waste and everything left on the ground, which they use, the public and the adjacent buildings. And these were the causes, these were identified as the causes of the fleas. It all depends, it depends on the weather or the season, and that's the time the fleas surge. But we did a few full fumigation of the. Now we are trying to do it more, more regularly, so that we avoid such complaints. So it's nothing to do with the structure. We can upgrade the structure, but we will not get rid of the fleas unless we address what causes the flea by trying to keep our environment pretty clean without any waste or any externals. The next project is Piney Elementary School, exterior painting. When the new building was constructed, it looked too good to be around those old buildings. And then we decided to paint the old buildings to make it match and more of an aesthetic match to the new building. It was all completed. Also, again, this was not just painting. We replaced a lot of dry rot sidings and trims. And in certain places, there were a lot of even a whole wall, the total walls were a new one. So this was a total upgrade for the exterior of the existing old buildings to match with the new building. The next one is Heroes Elementary School, synthetic turf. We had a major problem in one of the sections where we tried to do sod, we tried to do hydro seed, nothing worked because of that swampiness. There was a tree which was cut down and the roots were not taken out properly. So that caused a lot of problems. There was drainage issues. So finally we decided to put synthetic turf to avoid maintenance, and it's looking good. Staff, students, everybody enjoys it. And the next one is asphalt repairs at Logan High. This is near the weight room, which is a very heavy foot traffic area. And because of the age of the existing asphalt, there were a lot of areas where there could have been a lot of trip hazards. But this is one of the preventive approaches by the maintenance department to avoid any accidents. We had to do that. We found an opportunity during this summer, so we just completed that. The next one is in Alvarado Elementary School's surface upgrade, play structure surface upgrade. This was poured in place. It looks better now. It was all depleted and was not suitable for kids to play. It was not safe. And then we have this asphalt paving and concrete repairs at Piney. This was a major issue of concern all these years before summer. Complaints, not the complaints, the qualms we received from the principal and the teachers, because there was a lot of trip hazard because of the age of the concrete and the building. What we found out, like what Renee said, warranted conditions and then conditions, unforeseen conditions, and economics of scale. We try to incorporate all these in this project because when we did one section, we found out there was no base rock. We found out there was no rebar. I don't know how it was poured. The concrete lacked appropriate compression strength. That's why it was all, uneven. The slabs were going up and down. So it was totally uneven. We had to put permanent cones to avoid accidents. So we did one section and then we found out this and then we continued doing the whole area. So it's really nice now. And then while we were doing this, one of the sections we found out it was quite surprising that there was a pond of water underneath with sand, covered with sand, river sand, without any reinforcement. There were a huge amount of water. And then there was a stairwell going down, a concrete stairwell. So we found out from the city that they suspect there must have been a duck pond or something there. But whoever built it did not put any reinforcement, nothing but just covered it up. Unlucky, well, otherwise we would have been very rich. But, so we had to put these rebars, and there was a special compaction, remediation of water, disposal of concrete, and then having the right compressive strength with proper fabric, which the concrete for further movement, we had to carry this out. So that's Pioneer. And this is again Pioneer. This is to do with the land swap issue with the city. And this project is where we had to sort the city area, the city field. This is where we placed our portable housing during the construction of the new building. Portable housing might be sounding like we can put it anywhere, but it's not the case because DSA is very stringent on the portable housing. So the city field was, a portion of the city field was used for portable housing. And we had to put the turf back to transfer the land back to the city. That was one of the conditions. And mind you, it's amazing to know that we took out almost 350 plus tons of base rock from that area, which was placed in for the portable housing. And next is projects in construction phase, procurement phase, design phase, and assessment phase. We start with construction phase. The first projects at Piney and Cereals. This is a typical examples of supply chain issue. The design, which was the basis of design, which was used for the solar panels, is no longer in production. And then what we did is that we had to negotiate with the contractor to redesign the whole thing, because they'll have to submit the shop drawings for it. They did without any question, no cost to the district. The only cost is probably the time. So the redesign, we call it construction directive, which is at DSA, and we're waiting approval. Once the approval comes in, then we'll proceed with the construction. The second, portable generators and connection point, which is tangibly done. It's only the financial we're trying to close out, but we have 3 portable generators with a total PPR, the point power rating of 436 kilowatts. It's pretty powerful. It can a small, normally it can power any switch gear in any of the campuses. Projects in procurement, district-wide video surveillance security is in a bid phase. Playground structures, will be pressed, William Easton, Tom Kittia. So we'll discuss in detail here. For James Logan High School video surveillance security system, we had 12 stakeholders meeting. The very first meeting was a kickoff meeting where we invited all the principals, all the teachers of all the sites. And just to sound it out and make them aware and have the input, because I wanted them to be aware of it. And then we had meetings with the principal, with the security staff, the custodian staff, also with MOT and all these parties. There are a lot of meetings being taken, a lot of referral meetings took place between our consultants, which is Guidepost, the experts on security systems, and various vendors, various platform suppliers and all this. So we had 8 potential vendor interviews for hardwired and cloud solutions. Finally, we going on a hybrid platform. So the design now includes about 140 cameras, not about exactly 140 cameras. And the camera features are analytical motion detection, surround movement detection, wide range, WDR, wide dynamic range, multi-sensing, category searching. Projects in design again. Delayed Eastern Elementary School Makerspace. Repairs, Top Kitiyama, and then we have fresh enclosures at and fencing at Pioneer, Central Kitchen relocation to James League High School Educational Services Center. So Delayed Eastern. This is a rendering by the architect. This is how exactly it looks, but it's done. This is not a new building, it's an existing classroom. We're converting into a makerspace at Delayed Eastern. So it's basically It's not gonna be very expensive. This is Hpvc. So we are making a maker space together with the media center. It's a new building. It's one of the portables right adjacent to the parking lot, where we will demo that out and try to build this building to give a better facelift to the school. This is Tom Kitiyama's layout plan. This is also media center and maker space together. It's not a new building, it's an existing building, which we are trying to convert and merge into two different facilities. Relocation of central kitchen at Logan. This is at DSA at the moment. So what we're planning to do is that the sooner we get DSA approval, we are planning to bid this out early December, because that's a good period to bid out to get right kind of bidders. And the bidders are a bit reasonable rather than being competitive and cutthroat. So we are keeping our fingers that DSA, we get DSA approval. So it's a DSA, it's almost done. Project is very intense in terms of MEP, that's mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, of the function of the building or the facility, and in terms of loading, unloading, supply of materials and all these changes in the landscape out there at all. This is one of the major projects we're doing at the moment, district-wide Hpvc energy infrastructure upgrade. This is to comply with, not comply with, we are tapping to government code 4217 to have a better return on all our capital outlays. And this is not only Hpvc, this is a total energy upgrade with Hpvc, inclusive of Hpvc, building automation system, lighting, solar, water, all this. So there will be phases to this. The first phase is Logan. This has been analyzed, energy analysis has been done. So according to that, the most critical ones are Logan, Kitiyama, and Seals. And also this project will also, the first phase will also include 2 solar panels, solar canopies at Conley and Kitiyama. The solar canopies at Kitiyama and Conley are outdated. It's malfunctional, it's beyond repair. Project in assessment phase, elementary, elementary, manual, district-wide energy infrastructure. This is still in the project, but many assessments of HVAC, lighting, water, and the BMS, sorry. Then district-wide market, we do needs analysis at the moment. We try to find out do the schools really need it, but to create a scope, seek your blessings to go ahead with it. And district-wide painting, these have to be decided, but paving at Colorado and we have to do that to avoid. This will be more of a preventive maintenance route. And Jason is all excited to get it done as soon as possible. That projects that are on hold. Shade structure, we had a bid, a full-fledged bid. There was only one bidder, and the bidder was almost 100% high, above our estimate. And similarly to District Innovation Center, it was all bid out. We had 6 bidders. And the lowest bid was plus 100% higher than the estimate one. So we know how old, because what happens now in the industry is that before we had 8% average in 2 years as cost escalation. What we have seen now is almost 20% in a year. Plus, we are trying to be a bit innovative in terms of bidding, because bidding is based on a rec by the bidders. So there is a time where contractors will come for more like a bread and butter kind of project, just to survive that period. So we are tapping on that. all completed. It's restructure at Emmanuel and Cheryl's.
I just want to add for the last slide of play structure, that will be an ongoing project. We're trying to address the findings from the 2018 needs assessment that we conducted with regards to play structures and playground equipment throughout the district. So that would be an ongoing thing. And there are different stages to that. So you will see them as we see you along the way. Are there any questions?
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation, and we'll take questions now. I saw trustee Chima and then trustee Gonzalez.
I heard, it was not in the slide, I've been looking, some solar projects at Coney Caravelo or somewhere else. I thought we are already completed with the solar.
So those two sites were actually installed under Measure A, the old bond. So they were, 3 decades ago? They haven't functioned in a long time. They were not part of the recent, well, not so recent, but the phase 1 and phase 2 that we did. And mentioned earlier that with the energy infrastructure that we are doing, we invoked Government Code 4217. And that really triggers a lot of different things. Not only are we able to address our aging systems, and that's lighting, HVAC, but we're also looking into generating efficiency and savings as an outlook in the future. And that's why we're trying to trigger all those different things. Part of that, in order to meet that efficiency or the rating that we're trying to look for, is adding those 2 sites that currently are the only sites that do not have functioning solar system. And that is why we're throwing them in there.
I see, so when you said Coney Caravelo, the other one?
Kitayama.
KTM, I see. Okay, so also I have not seen, because more and more people, they are going to the electric cars. Is it part of our plan to install some charging stations?
It's something that we've talked about. One of the things that we, let me put it this way, we're not generating enough to even address our own energy needs. It's certainly a good thing to have, right? And there are systems out there. I mean, we can contract with a credit card company. I mean, there are systems that we can put in place if that's something that we want to do in the future. As it stands, based on preliminary conversations with different consultants, free of charge, is that we are not in a position, since we're not even generating enough for our own. And that's where we are at this point. But it's certainly something that was thought of or included when phase 1 and phase 2 were installed in the solar system. I mean, yeah, the phase 1 and phase 2 solar initiative in the district.
So when you say that we are not meeting our needs, are not we supposed to have enough solar panels installed so that our needs are met?
Well,
that's what my kind of understanding was.
Yeah, in terms of data, let's think of it this way. Prior to the district-wide solar, just for reference, our energy costs were about $1.5 million. When everything was on full commission, that energy cost dropped by about 50%. So we're not necessarily generating everything yet to serve our own needs, but it certainly helped in terms of our ongoing costs of our energy needs. So I think we need more panels, we need more system in order to do that. Now, and remember too, these panels are not generating energy in the evening. So, they're only during the day. So it's something that we've considered, that we would, like I said, we've considered in terms of this project moving forward.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Nayu and Ms. Hillman. Very impressive. These schools look like brand new schools. Some of them. The criticism is the before and after pictures, especially at the beginning. The Hillby Press, it was kind of blurry on the after. I mean, that's the only criticism I would say about that. And the part that stands out for me is, and I know this was a major problem at Pioneer Elementary School, the asphalt paving and concrete repairs. And you also talked about, and it looks like a monolithic pour here, very, very nice, though, that concrete pour. You talked about the bidding and, you know, sometimes the lowest bid is not the best, you know, you kind of get what you pay for. But I noticed we've been improving the Pseudo Brothers for the concrete there. For their pours, and I'm actually, they've done Hayward schools, you know, so they're well known throughout the East Bay, actually doing their job. Do they come back, and if there's any cracking or repairs, do they come back to fix that? And when you discover there's sand and like a swamp underneath there, is there like something, I don't know, a lawsuit to go after the people who poured it, or like, I don't know, what is the recoil on that?
So basically, what happens is that first and foremost, Super Brothers, they're the only contractors who have been very responsive. We had difficulty in getting a lot of contractors. We tried inviting them because we were going on a cup. They were the only contractors who were very responsive, and they are very particular. They're pretty much very caring, I would say. If there's any defect, they'll come back and fix it. Yeah, so we have a 1 year warranty with them. As far as the water and all this remediation, it was all remediated. So what happens when you have that, if we don't go actually digging out and taking the sand, because river sand, because they could be dig, we could end up in a lot of problems with the water table. The water table is, for a Piney is 18 feet depth. That's where the water table is. Like
18, 1/8, you said?
1/8, yeah, 18
Oh,
feet.
I see.
And surprisingly, the worst is Alvarado is 75 feet. So this is something important for us to know, because that drives also the cost. So what we did is that we removed water, and then there are two ways to do that. One is you can do lime treatment, but lime treatment we didn't have time because for the summer break. The only thing is that we put a Merafi fabric, it's a geotextile fabric. So it creates a bridge. We compacted with base rock, take all the water out, we took all the concrete out, and then we compacted it and dried it out and put the fabric on top of that. Then we laid the rebar, then concrete. And then we increase the PSI of the concrete.
And when we come across things like that, and it's not unusual, especially when we open walls, crack concrete, our first obligation is to mitigate it, is to remediate it before we can move on. If circumstances, if we could find records, then we would. In this case, like I said, these are our facilities, and as part of the project that we are working on is to remediate or mitigate before.
Thank you. Any more questions, trustee Mishira?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Delaney Easton makerspace. One of the things that this is a good opportunity is to have some of the committees kind of work streams that's happening right now in digital services is the creation of logos for all the individual schools. Now, I actually, the butterfly with the gears, I think it's really super clever. I think there's an opportunity here to just make sure that these two work streams match together so that we don't have different logos across different spaces, right? So I'm not necessarily prescriptive about which it should be, but there should probably be some thoughtful consideration between those two things. And even though I do really like, how clever, the gears with the butterfly is, I could probably craft it a little bit. I think there's some errors and there's some areas where it's a little, it's not final, obviously, but like, just make sure that they're all polished and there's coherence between the two.
That's a very good point, especially with the work that we are doing with our logos. And yeah, we will make sure we loop back into Mr. Mattos. That design actually started a while back before all of this.
Any more questions? Okay, oh, I just want to say thank you. It's obviously that you care about the safety of our kids, and that's very important to us too. And thank you for all your hard work. Right. Our next item is item 9.1. Our public hearing to consider adopting the statutory increase in level 1. In a public hearing to receive public testimony to consider adopting the statutory increase in level 1 school fees. Speakers will be given 2 minutes to make comments on this matter and this matter only. To give comments via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are calling in, you push star 6. So are there any speakers on Zoom?
There are no speakers on Zoom.
I see no speakers here. Okay. Right. Going once, going twice. All right. There being no speakers, the public hearing to consider adopting the statutory increase in level 1 school fees is now closed. We'll move on to item 10.1, items from the board and superintendent. Dr. Thompson, would you like to start?
I'd love to, thank you. So day 5, our school's been open for 5 days now, and we are still in the stage of confirming enrollment and making adjustments. Those are will go on for the first 10 days or so. Enrollment in general looks about the same as it was last year. We're still confirming, so that's good news, but we'll, I don't want to make any promises about anything until we get that completely confirmed, which will be around day 10. And same thing with staffing, we will be making adjustments and all of that. So it's the typical activity this time of year, exacerbated a bit by shifting to our new student information system areas. That's added some complications. So I thank everybody for being patient with us as we make this transition. Next week, we are starting a new initiative this year. We've seen across the country, and sadly, in some instances in our community and in our schools, instances of hate speech or hate-related activities. And we are not going to sit back and just hope that it doesn't happen. So again, so next week, we're launching our anti-hate speech campaign, which gets at hate speech, hate-related conduct. And really the purpose is to empower our students and to make them aware of how detrimental it is to be in an environment where there's any kind of hate-related activity, and empower them to stand up and we'll stand together against it. So you'll see a lot of that going on, kicking off next week. And it's a year-long initiative. It's not a once and done. Our staff has worked hard with our sites to plan activities every month. So we're excited about that. Moving into September, we'll have our State of the District event at our board meeting in September. We only have one, I think it's on the 13th. And that'll be between 5:30 and 6. And we'll have a reception from 6 to 6:30 right before our 6:30 board meeting starts. So we're getting ready to send out invitations to that, and we're looking forward to that event. And finally, I feel comfortable announcing this now, but we have been thinking about and tentatively planning an event kind of in the spirit of the old marching on events, where we showcase our schools, we showcase the accomplishments of our students, and we give the community a chance to interact with us in a way that where we can all come together. And we're working on a name right now, so we're calling it the New Haven Festival right now, but we'll see. We're still working on the name. Tentatively, we're looking at April. I think it was April 29th or 22nd. I think it might have got moved because the prom got moved. We were looking at the 29th. But this spring, I'm comfortable saying that we will have this event, and I'm really looking forward to it. So stay tuned. More to come on that. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would any board members like to go first? Okay, seeing none, I'll go. So I had my coffee with the school board trustee this last Saturday at Hpvc on 11th Street. And it went well, and a few people come. It started at 8 a.m., so I decided that people would like it to start later. So the next coffee that I will be having, will be starting at 9 a.m. at Hpvc on 11th Street. Other than that, it's been great to hear the kids out at recess. Down all the screaming and laughing. So I'm glad we're back to school. Anybody else? Trustee Nishihira.
Yeah, this is a bittersweet start of the year for me because it is my youngest daughter's first day in New Haven. So this will be my youngest daughter's senior year at James Logan. So very, very excited about that. I've been hearing a lot from students about kind of the bumpy start, which I think everybody kind of anticipated that would be a little bit bumpy. I mean, anytime that you move a system that's as big as our student information system, there are going to be some adjustments. But rest assured, I'm confident that there will be gains. There'll be a lot of long-term upside to this bumpiness, and I appreciate the staff and the students, the teachers and the counselors, and everybody's patience while this all works itself out. Like I said, a little bit of short-term pain, there'll be some long-term gain. Appreciate everybody's patience in that. Other than that, looking forward to the rest of the year and back to you guys.
Yes, Trustee Chima, you want to go next?
And so welcome back to all of our families, students, and the teachers. I was able to join our staff at the General High School distributing the t-shirts and saying welcome to the teachers. It was wonderful, and climate was very happy, mood was very happy, and teachers, they were enjoying their beginning of the new year. And also I have heard from the many families regarding their students' schedule and little stuff here and there. So I would also advise our families to be patient, and while we're working on this, the new system, and also it's complex, ours is a big school, General High School, we are proud of that. And just work with the staff and work with your counselors. And again, welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go next. Trustee Cameron.
I just want to welcome everybody back and have a terrific year. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. With the start of the new school year also comes the parking congestion, the inpatient drop off, the illegal parking, so that does come with it. And just gotta be, I just tell the community to be patient. Everybody gotta go to work and drop off, and we're trying our best. And so let's get through it. The good part is I haven't got any emails or phone calls or complaints from staff within our New Haven district. So that's good, except for a couple of glitches with student classes and stuff like that. That's the only the trouble part. But I do know the first 2 weeks of school, I'm starting my first 2 weeks this week. And so that is probably the most stressful time of the year, is just getting started and new students and adjusting. So just bear with us as we get through this, trying our best. And so I just wish everybody a great school year. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Oh, Trustee Cameron.
I just want to add something that I've forgotten, but I should not have. I wanted to thank all the staff members who had made the opening smooth. You reminded me when you said you haven't received it. The reason we haven't had any nasty emails is somebody had done their work and done a good job in preparing our school district in opening. So thank you, Central Office. Thank you, principals, site administrators, and thank you, teachers and parents, because you worked hard in preparing and foreseeing what might happen and could happen, and made it, and prepared it, the district. We have had a good smooth opening. So thank you, everybody.
From the Budget and Finance Committee. A report or a date of the next meeting?
There's nothing to report.
Okay. 11.2 is report from the Communication and Advocacy Committee. Trustee Nishihiro, would you like to?
Sure. We met last Thursday and we talked about all the different school website updates, which are in process right now in varying stages. We also reviewed approaches for all the new school logos. The idea there is that we'll have a set of logos that are uniquely different and diverse, but also have a lot of similar characteristics, that they all look like they belong together, but they're also different and unique. So it's an interesting balance. We also had an update regarding the proposal for our SEO and digital AI campaign, and the committee is going to be considering kind of the timing in terms of when they're going to roll out different campaigns relative to registration. So staff will be preparing a recommendation for that. And we also discussed the State of the District event, which the superintendent already mentioned. We also approved all the meeting dates for year, and the next meeting will be September 15th. So that's it for communication and advocacy.
Thank you very much. Item 11.3 is report from the Policy Review Committee, and we will have our first meeting on August 30th via Zoom. 11.4 is other committee reports. I'm happy to report we have set a date for our AXPA meeting for fall, which will be October 20th. So please mark your calendars for October 20th for our AXPA meeting. Are there any other?
Foundation, just wanted to mention that we met last Sunday for our annual end of summer get together with the foundation board at former board member Michael Ritchie's house. It was great weather. We enjoyed some food, some good company, and we recognized Gail Hamilton as an outstanding foundation board member. He's now retiring and off traveling the world, so the board offered their thanks. Other than that, same thing that I mentioned last week about our last meeting around Mustra, which will be in October. More details to come. Go to the nhsfoundation.org for more details. Thanks.
This is September 24th. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what it is.
I was only off by a month. Yes, sorry. Thank you for that correction.
I just looked it up because it's like, oh, when is that coming up? It says early pricing ends on September 9th.
Oh.
You better get your tickets soon.
That's right. And this year we have a new dog in the family, so Aria, the dog, will be making an appearance.
We also have a new dog
Okay.
since the last time, Margarita. Okay, any other committees, ROP, anything?
We have that next.
We're on section 12, action items. One, may I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 008 -22 recognition and honoring National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All right, would someone like to read the resolution? Trustee Nishihiro.
Sure. New Haven Unified Board of Education Resolution 008-2223, recognizing and honoring National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th, 2022. Whereas the New Haven Unified School District is honored to join citizens throughout the country in recognizing September 15th, 2022 as the start of National Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas every year since 1968, from September 15th to October 15th, our country has celebrated Hispanic culture and contributions to our community and nation. And whereas the anniversaries of many independence and liberation movements throughout Mesoamerica, Latin America, and the Caribbean islands occurred during this time period. And whereas this is an opportunity to share the historical contributions of Latinx Americans that have significantly impacted education, such as Roberto Alvarez, whose groundbreaking case was the first successful school desegregation case in American history. And whereas throughout the year, we honor the contributions of Latinx Americans in our history, such as civil rights, trailblazers, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Clara Fernandez Huerta. And whereas Latinx people comprise 40% of California's population and 22% of Union City's population, and are an integral part of social, artistic, linguistic, cultural, intellectual, and economic tapestry of our community. And whereas in the New Haven Unified School District, Latinx students make up 37% of the student population, whereas the New Haven Unified School District has continued effort to honor National Hispanic Heritage Month and enhance equity and diversity, remains dedicated to providing resources and programming for Spanish-speaking communities. And whereas the students of Latinx heritage are deservedly proud of their rich and diverse cultural heritage, which includes histories, cultures, and contributions, which will increasingly impact the social and economic life of our community and the state of California. And whereas it is important that the history curriculum in our schools at every grade level reflects the experience of people of different racial, religious, and ethnic groups, so that each student has the opportunity to understand the common humanity of all people. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Haven Unified School District will commemorate National Hispanic Heritage Month with appropriate instructional activities to recognize the significant contributions that Latinx people have made in helping our nation achieve greatness, passed and adopted by the following called vote on the 16th day of August, 2022.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so just language is always evolving, and I'm just curious if, like Latinx, you know, before, a couple of years ago, you know, Chicano, you know, that's what I identify, but it's not current. Latinx is also falling by the side, and raza is a more good term, more inclusive. If we wanted to change this, how would we go about?
Yeah, that's, if the consensus of the board is to change the Latinx to something different, it would be easy to do, and you would just pass it with that amendment made to the resolution.
I'm not making it, but maybe next year, you know.
Okay.
So.
Board members are always welcome to submit edits to the resolution prior to the meeting.
Yes.
So there's that. Any other discussion? All right. I'm looking forward to seeing our report back after this month. See what all the schools and students have done to celebrate our Hispanic Heritage Month. And all in favor of passing this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be a unanimous. So this resolution passes unanimously. Moving on to 12.2. May I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 009-2223, pledge to eliminate hate speech.
I don't,
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, Mr. Chima.
New Haven Unified Board of Education Resolution number 009-2223, New Haven Unified School District pledged to eliminate hate campaign. Whereas Union City and the New Haven Unified School District are inclusive communities that value ethnic and cultural diversity. And whereas the families, the students, and staff members in the New Haven Unified School District communities and cultures from all over the world. And whereas the New Haven Unified School District in its goals, practices, and procedures strive to make our schools welcoming places that are free from racism and hate-related conduct. And whereas the New Haven Unified School District has established a district-wide goal to ensure equity and achievement by creating inclusive and equitable equitable conditions. And whereas across the nation, state, and in our local communities, hate-related incidents have occurred that have undermined the efforts of the community to create places that are free from hate and hate speech. And whereas the New Haven Unified School District will not tolerate hate speech or hate-related conduct. And whereas the New Haven Unified School District will launch an anti-hate campaign during the 2022-23 school year to proactively hate-related conduct. And whereas the goal of this campaign will be to provide our staff members with the tools they need to educate our students about the harm caused by the hate speech and related conduct, as well as to educate our students on what to do if they encounter it. And whereas the New Haven Unified School District will launch our anti-hate campaign during the week of August 22nd through to August 26th, and whereas there will be monthly activities throughout the year, all of our school sites to continue this campaign. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Haven Unified School District commits to this campaign to keep our schools free from racism, hate speech, and hate-related conduct, passed and adopted by the following called vote this 16th day of August 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
Like we have mentioned for the previous, or it's just general for our resolution. So since this is ongoing, how often we will be hearing about our actions or results? You can come back, we will have to.
Yeah, that's a good question. Think about it. It's a year-long program, so
Yeah.
we'll probably intersperse the different activities. You'll see it on our social media feed regularly, and then we can update the board on a regular basis too.
Thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, passes unanimously. Okay, item 12.3, may I have a motion and a second to adopt 2223, the increase in level 1 school impact fees and adoption of CEQA notice of exemption.
So moved.
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. On to item 12.4. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the service agreement with Keenan and Associates for the development, implementation, and maintenance of the district's emergency preparedness plan for school years 2022 through 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion?
No.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. On to item 12.5. May I have a motion and second to approve the partnership agreement with Charter Impact, Inc. for CalPADS consultant services for 2022-2023?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item?
I just want to know that because it's very expensive, $95,000. Is there any assistance from the legislature for that?
No, but it is actually, the cost is being offset right now by 2 positions that are not currently filled. So we'll, depending on how long that goes, we may end up actually breaking even or saving money in the long run because of this. So anyway, that's.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion or question? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that also passes unanimously. We're on to our consent agenda. Section 13. Are there any items which trustees would like to be pulled for a separate vote? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion and second to approve consent agenda items 13.1 through 13.21? So,
Second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This passes unanimously. We'll skip section 14 since we did not remove any items from consent agenda. We're now on item 15, which is our governance review. We have any comments about our governance procedures?
Comment. Yeah. I like your new protocol in that say, so it saved us few. seconds or a minute or so, whatever. It's efficient, seems efficient at least, so thank you.
The voice votes? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I just recommend just also just interjecting in there, all opposed, it'll be a quick, nobody said anything, or it's obvious that, but just for the, go through the.
Okay, great. Do that. All right, on to 16.1.
The request I have is that we just passed the resolution for hate speech, so if you can just provide us update about that, how often will be letting us. Because this is very important, that's what is going on right now in the country. Thank you.
It's safe to assume we have consensus on that. Trustee Gonzalez.
Yeah, as far as class size and the triggers and our day approaching. Can we get a report on that, or our combo classes? I'm sure you can do that right now if I.
Well, we're still in the process. My plan was to provide a full staffing report at our September meeting. That's one of the things we talked about, is on that list. And I'll give the board updates, I can send out quick updates as things progress, but the plan is to provide the full picture at our next meeting, if that's okay.
That's September is all right, right? Yeah. Also, I think because of TKG, how many sections we have at all the schools and how the enrollment went, so we appreciate that, to add in that.
That'll definitely be part of the report.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Anything else from the board? All right, with that, I would like to adjourn our meeting. Okay, thank you.